This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
How many times have you heard, if you work at what you love, you'll never work a day in your life? Well, come on, nobody believes that, do they? Well, actually, there might be some truth to the saying, if you can just figure out what you really love doing. Dave Des Rochers has spent his adult life checking the boxes as he built a lengthy resume. Now he's trying to use his experience with a company selling a new form of career development. Well, for many people who follow sports, your name is going to be very, very familiar. But for those who don't follow football quite as closely as some, would you give our viewers and listeners a bit of your background? What did you do to get where you are now? There might be some clues in that shelf behind you.
Well, certainly, and I will tell you, they would have to be a super fan to know who I was. I was able to reach the highest level of sport within the football realm and work my way to the NFL, but I wasn't there for long. So the old acronym, the NFL standing not for long, suited me fine. I played a couple years in Seattle and then played a couple years in Montreal with the World League. That was started up by the NFL owners back in the early 90s. So, it was a windy path. I wasn't, the thing I'd like to share, I wasn't one of those guys that was actually very good at football. I was better at basketball in high school, and we had a new football coach show up on campus, and he came up to me and goes, hey, big guy, you going to play football? And I said, no. And he said, why not? I said, well, I'm not very good. And I said, I've got a couple scholarship offers for basketball. He said, where are they? And they were very small schools, Cal State LA and something else. And he said, well, gee, you come play football for me. I'll get you a better scholarship. Sure. I wanted to play football, but I wasn't good. Funny story is, after about 3 days, he pulls me aside and says, young man, you're not very good. And I said, okay. Thanks, coach. He said, but you can be. He said, son, he goes, look, if you'll do some things for me, he goes, I can get you better. And the first thing he handed me was a jump rope. Well, here I am, 6'7", whatever, uncoordinated already. And he's giving me something that girls do and wanted me to do it. And I tried once, I said, oh my gosh, I am not going to do this in public. But I wanted to be good. So I took it home. And one skip at a time. If you've ever jumped rope, Doug, I mean, you hit your toe.
I bring you, when you look up clumsy in the dictionary, you'll see my picture next to it.
Well, those that are listening that have, if you hit your toe and your shin, it hurts. But one skip at a time, and I actually got fairly prolific at it. And, what I share is, did it make me good in football? No. But it gave me confidence. I was given something I was not good at, nor did I want to do. I was told it would help me. And I remember getting with him and go, hey, coach, you want to jump rope with me? And he was horrible at it, and I was doing really well. That gave me some confidence. I felt really good about it. And the next step of the story is that when he was right, I got scholarship offers to Cal, Arizona, Hawaii, San Diego State. I chose San Diego State. Fullerton offered me a joint scholarship, basketball, football, but chose San Diego State. And what do you think the offensive line coach handed us five freshmen day two?
Not a jump rope by any chance.
Oh boy, yeah, you may have heard the story. So, but yeah, and I'll tell you, Douglas, as soon as I was given to me, I went right to it, and actually very good at it. And the other four freshmen looked at it like I did when I was 17, when coach handed it to me, and immediately set me apart. The coach was really amazed with it, and I remember him distinctly going and telling the other coaches, "Hey, this young guy can jump rope," And so, anyways, it's a story. It's how I got there. It was one of those things that I learned. But when I talk to young folks, I say, gee, of the 180 guys each year that make a roster or practice squad, how many of you believe that they were the best of the best in high school when there's 1.4 million kids out there? And
they'd have to be, right?
Not me. So there is that story, is that, if you want to get somewhere, you want to get to, if you have a goal, if there's something that you want to do, you may have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do to get there. And
well, how did you get to where you are now? And tell our listeners and viewers what you're doing right now, and how did you get to this point?
Well, So I'm currently involved in a few things, one of which is I'm the vice president and partner of Path 2, which is an online career discovery program. And when we launched it, when the founder was writing his book, he's had some successful businesses. He's a PhD engineer. And he started writing about happiness and success, about how you can have both. And he started looking into his collegiate experience, attaining his doctorate in engineering, and then found all these statistics of kids failing, to graduate in 4 years, taking 6 years to graduate, changing their major multiple times, leaving with an average of $35,000 in debt, and all of these horrible statistics. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, why is this happening?" So he started taking the algorithm, assessments, and very quickly determined, well, this is why. Because those things are less than beneficial. If you take it more than once, you'll get 5 different results, and they vary, and you have no idea how they got there. And so he put together a program that he felt, using his engineering solution solving mindset, and it's a process. It's a meta-analysis. Is using other entities to come to a result, but it is completely transparent, utilizing all of your intrinsic characteristics. So when he approached me to say, "Hey, Dave, I got this thing. You've been a professional athlete. You've been a professional actor. You were a general contractor. I had my general contractor's license, a project manager, got fully licensed in every license you can have, and became a financial planner, vice president of a bank, and a top performing financial advisor for 20 years." He said, "You've done all these weird things, completely no continuity whatsoever, but at the highest level." He goes, "Would you take my program and tell me what you think?" And I told him, I go, "Dr. Ellison, this thing, it's just so much more than helping kids. It's helping those in junior college, those about to graduate. It's helping professional athletes transition. When the head coach called me in and said, 'Hey, Dave, you're no longer needed,' I went to selling cars. I had no exit strategy. I had no game plan. And helping veterans transition from service to civilian life. If we can help them, oh my gosh, they've been trying to figure that out for years. And then, and of course, then the 70 million people that hate their jobs. And there's so many disengaged, there's so many statistics now by Gallup, by all the polls, stating what a huge issue this is. And 40 million people transition jobs every year, some by choice and some forced to. If we can help those people not make the same bad decision, I think we've got something. And it's really been a fun thing to develop and see it take hold.
From your experience, and you certainly have a resume that goes to multiple pages. What do you tell somebody who says, "I'm in this career, I've been in this job, I hate this job, but this is the only thing I know. My degree is in X, and it won't translate to Y or Z." What is the answer?
The answer is it's in yourself, and it's finding out about yourself, that what it is that's going to make you happy, and that you're going to enjoy, but also be good at. See, the problem with these assessments is that the majority of them are personality driven, right? And what does our personality tell us? What you're going to love, but it doesn't tell you what you're going to be good at. And that's what your aptitude does. So, there all these assessments are one-sided, 25 minutes, well, 25-minute results, in my opinion. And so, I'd always jokingly say, I love to sing and I love to dance, but I'm not good at it. So many people get caught up in that, right, with their career. If you think about it, oh my gosh, I'm going to love that. And so you've got to understand both. And then you have to kind of, start thinking about yourself, and what are you interested in doing? How do you want to work? And most people just do things backwards. They kind of get in and try and figure it out, rather than like Stephen Covey suggests, begin with an end in mind, right? Habit number 2 of 7 habits of highly effective people, and begin with an end in mind. Know what that is first, and then figure out how you're going to get there.
Did you use these as you transitioned from one job to another, because they're so different?
Absolutely not. It didn't exist back then. But that's the beauty of this, Douglas, is that when I sit down with people my age, or even younger, is that they all say, "Man, I wish I would have had that, because our paths, were like this. There just was no way to know this." I remember sitting down with my college counselor, And the first thing they say is, okay, G Dave, you're here on scholarship, and what do you want to major in? And I said, I want to be an architect. And they said, why? I said, well, I'm very good at math, and I love to draw, and I want to design things. And they said, well, no. Uh, they said, because of your being a student athlete, you won't have the time to be able to compete. The demand in that area, in that major, is very high. The time commitment is very high. And so my first career lasted about 32 seconds. And then I had to determine the next one, right? Which was, then I love art. And, there was nothing out there to help me determine these things other than what I liked to do. And I'd like to draw. So she said, well, what about graphic design? I said, I'm colorblind. They said, well, you just figure it out. So that's what we had back then. And so that's why so many of us had these windy paths. So we didn't have anything to help us determine these things.
Well,
Then what they've come up with are these half measures that still have, left people, in careers and stuck in careers that they're completely disengaged in. They have no interest in. They just collect their check and go home. It's a horrible position.
When you left San Diego State, what did you leave as an art major or what?
Well, good question. I was set to graduate in 3.5 years. I was a decent student. I wanted to work on a master's or additional education, utilizing my scholarship, because I was there for 5 years. The problem existed in that when I eliminated all my lower division and my electives, I was stuck with a course that was going to make me an hour late to practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I said to my counselor, I said, well, gee, it was spring ball, so it wasn't in season. And I said, gee, what do I do? They said, well, just go tell your coach. And so I sat down with my coach and I said, hey, coach, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be an hour late to practice. And he said, son, you can't be late to practice. I go, coach, you guys tell us every time we come in, prioritize God, family, school, football. And he said, well, yeah, but son, you can't be late to practice. So I go, what do I do? He goes, well, you got to go talk to your counselor, which what I had to do was change my major because I had already eliminated everything else. I'm on scholarship. And so I changed it to criminal justice because, okay, so here's my next career that lasted 36 seconds. I said business. And she said, no, because it's a business school. All these students come here for business and you're a student athlete. And so, oh my gosh. So then I did criminal justice, a de facto major for me. I had zero interest in it. And I want to share one other quick story if I have time, is that then they said, well, just take some courses and see what you like. And I said, well, I like dolphins and whales. And so I'm going to take oceanography, right? At San Diego State, I'm going to take oceanography. Maybe I'll like that. Come to find out, there's a lot of things in the ocean other than dolphins and whales that I could care less about. And come to find out, in taking our program, I have zero aptitude for science or biology. It is not even on the radar. That would have been nice to have known before choosing a course and getting my first D. Then I had to go tell my coaches and my parents and stressed me out. And then I'm spiraling. So to answer your question in a very long-winded fashion, which I tend to do, is that I left without a degree. I fortunately was invited to go to the combine, invited to go to the Hula Bowl, which is a collegiate all-star game. I played with Tim Brown, Thurman Thomas, Ickey Woods, some really good guys. And then there's me. But then I got drafted by the Seattle Seahawks and then, kind of made my way from there. It was kind of nice. It actually bailed me out, even though I didn't have much success there. It was always on my resume. So everyone wanted to see the professional athlete. And then, of course, it was up to me to earn the position. But
So many football players, it seems, end up running car dealerships. But you said you sold cars?
I did. Well, I bought a couple. I got to know, and of course, being a Seattle Seahawk, you don't deal with the salesperson, you deal with the owner. And we hit it off. And so when I got released, it was the last cut. And so and I had fired my agent, so I didn't get picked up. And they said, well, why don't you come sell cars? And that's when I learned actually that I had, and I didn't know the word aptitude at that time, but I was pretty good at sales. In the first month, I was hands down the top salesperson. I actually made more selling cars that month than I made playing football. That tells you how much money I made playing football. There were a few less zeros back then, my friend. I mean, you know, it was not near as lucrative, and which also made it easier for me to walk away. After my second year in Montreal, and the Raiders and the Redskins wanted me to come to camp, and I met a guy who was a developer, and he wanted me to come work for him as a project manager. He was going to help me get my a license and teach me all this. And I said, well, I'm still have a chance to play football. He said, how much can you make? And I said, well, average is about 250,000. And he said, you can make that working for me. Okay, I'm done. And didn't quite pan out, but I will say I'm actually really glad I didn't play. I see a lot of my friends now that are really struggling with a lot of issues. I even in the short time I did play, I still have a lot of physical issues and things that I'm dealing with. But today's contracts of being an average offensive lineman makes about 2.5 million. That would be a lot more difficult decision to make. I can see why guys are chasing it.
That's what a number of people in mid-career say. I can't change my career because I am making X and I can't see any way to make X plus $1 or even X minus $1. What do you say to them who feel they're trapped by the salary?
That's a difficult position to be in, because it doesn't matter if it's high dollar or median dollar. If you have month-to-month obligations, so many people are trapped. That's why they don't pivot. That's why they don't change. They don't have the savings. They don't have the wherewithal to put their life on pause. It was a kind of a, well, I always try to find opportunity in crisis, and COVID gave a lot of people that opportunity because everything was placed on hold. You didn't have to be, feel bad about saying, well, gee, I can't make my payment. There's a lot of people that couldn't make their payments, and credit cards and auto loans and even mortgages and renters were given a hiatus. It wasn't a great situation to be in, but boy, it was an opportunity, and looks like it might be an opportunity missed if people haven't taken advantage of it. But to answer your question is that how happy is that money making you? And I go back to my days of financial planning where I did quite well. And I did enjoy it, but it wasn't fulfilling me. There was something missing about it. And now my choice was forced through a divorce. But I tell you, I remember my regional managers telling me, he goes, Dave, you're going to sell your business. You're going to quit. He goes, what else could you possibly do to make this much money? And I said, I don't know, but I'll find it, and it's and when you find your purpose and you find that passion, like Kobe says, find your 4 a.m., find that thing that you'll do to get up without an alarm and not even balk at it because you love it so much, you're going to find the success. The money is secondary, and it will come if you're really passionate about it, I believe.
As you have worked for Path 2, have you seen examples of mid-career professionals taking that I'd almost call it a leap of faith to go to a different career? And if so, how do they manage to do it?
Well, unfortunately, the majority of the time it's forced. It's a layoff or cutbacks, because we have had a number of people do that. They have made a complete career pivot and gone from someone that was actually in the political side of things became I'm trying to think of the term of it, but it was in the medical field, but just in the back office of it, and it was actually fairly lucrative. It was a pretty good pay structure, which I was surprised. I'm often surprised. That's the beauty of our program, about those choices people make, because we open the universe to every job utilizing all the data in the U.S. Department of Labor's ONET. So we download the entire database into our program. So it's every career that they're privy to. It's like around 1,000 different careers. And it's amazing that we're always surprised by some of these careers that people choose. And she loves it. She loves the structure. She loves the, when you're in the political side of things, it's not structured and it's high stress and it's, travel and all those things that people don't think about when they take a job. I have a great example. And this is an absolute true example. It was 15 plus years ago when I lived in Pasadena, well before Path 2, but the story resonated when we got going on this. And I was in my pool, and Dan, the pool man, was there, and he shows up, and I got out so he could do his thing. And I said, Dan, I just got to tell you, you're killing it with our pool. I see him sprinkling stuff. He does all these things. I said, my skin's never dry, my eyes never burn. And he said, I'm glad my degree in biochemical engineering is coming in handy. And so, without skipping a beat, I said, degree. He goes, well, I actually have a master's. And I said, okay, you're doing a pool. He said, he just went right into the story because he's probably told it a million times. He said, look, when I was bebop, and from Stanford, of no less, he goes, when I was bebopping around Palo Alto, my lab time was, a couple of hours a day, 3-4 days a week, a couple of hours here and there. My projects, the things I was being graded on once I got to the higher level were my choice. I decided what I wanted to do, and it was my grade, my study. When I went to work for the firm, I was in lab 8 to 10 hours every single day, and I was part of a team given a mundane task. He goes, I hated my job. And he goes, and I didn't worry about my $200,000 in student loan debt because I knew I was going to get over $100,000 a year being a biochemical engineer. So, it's a perfect example of somebody, an intelligent person say, oh, I want to do this, but not thinking about what's the work environment going to be? What am I going to be? What does my life look like for the next 30 years before I make this decision? So that's what we turn the tables. We get people thinking about that so then they can find the right job and then right career and then focus on a major from there.
So how does this path to work for the individual? And we're talking about mid-career, not high school or college.
Well, the two programs are fairly similar. We incorporate with people that are in transition, their work experience, and how does that transition? How can you utilize that? And it's amazing to also see people find neat ways that it's not always apparent as to what gifts that you have or your work experience and how that's going to transition. But you can utilize them in a number of different ways. But it all begins the same way, and that's finding out what you're going to love and what you're going to be good at, and then taking the broad careers and applying them to the U.S. Department of Data, database of careers, and determine how much money can you earn. How often have we heard folks say, especially young people, I've heard, or they say, I can make $100,000. No, young person, you're going to make $49,674 to $96,881, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. So we know exactly the ballpark, state specific of how much you can earn, which is very important in transition. You gotta have an idea. Okay, well, gee, like you were saying earlier, people have a certain income expectation, and how are you going to know if this new change is going to be sufficient for you? So, how much income, how much education is required? A lot of people don't know a marketing director. 38% of them have a master's. So, if you think you're going to be, a marketing director, well, you better either have a master's or be willing to take less money, right? So this is how it works, And then the third thing is, which is also very important, the growth rate of the career. Is it growing? Is it an expansion? Is it going to be there in 6 to 10 years, or will it be replaced by AI or automation? In a growing career, you're going to have much more opportunity for lateral growth or up growth within the company. So it's very important to know the growth rate, and those growth rates are also state specific that we utilize. And then we get back to my story of the young man that ended up having long hair, being in the sun, and working by himself with this great master's degree. Is your interests. You like to read? Do you like to use your hands? We have a whole list of interests. You rank the top 5. You apply the top 5 to those careers. Preferences. How do you want to work? Indoors, outdoors, by yourself or part of a team. 40 hours a week, or like you and I, whatever it takes to get it done. We work so many hours and sometimes less, but so what's important to you, and visualize that, and then rank them all, take your top 5 and apply them to the careers, and then utilize your traits. And your top 2 careers are going to resonate, and you'll know why they're there. That's the beauty of this. It's not a black box where, if I want to be an architect and architect wasn't in the top 5, I'm going, well, doesn't this thing know I want to be an architect? Why isn't it there? If it's not there in our program, so if you're thinking about transition If it's not there in our program, it's because it didn't meet your criteria. You didn't take it there. The only two that are left are the ones that are fit for everything that's important to you on all your intrinsic characteristics. So that's kind of how, in a nutshell, how it works.
Where are you going to be taking your career the next 5, 10 years? Will we see you out at the beach with an easel and some painting material, or what?
Well, I do enjoy my art. I do it when I have time, but I'll tell you what I do have passion for, and something else that I'm working on is I'm part of a program. It's called Mission Sports. It's a faith-based youth camp, utilizing sports as a catalyst, but then teaching kids about health, about character, and presenting the Word of God to them. And it's a nonprofit free camp to kids. Our first camp is going to be in oh my gosh, the state. How can I not think of a state? Well, maybe the helmets have something to do with it. Missouri. And we wanted to launch here in Southern California, but the restrictions have just kind of loosened up a little bit, haven't allowed us to launch it. And I do a podcast called The Locker Room, where I get a bunch of ex-professional athletes and high school athletes or coaches talking about their experience. And so working with youth is something I love doing. I've had access and been able to do it through Path 2 because we work with a lot of high schools, and I get an opportunity to speak to them and speaking to youth organizations. So the future for me is anything that I can do. I'm part of a couple of different mentor platforms, the Hispanic 100 and the Orange County Hispanic Youth Chamber. And no, I'm not Hispanic, but there's a need there, and I love it. I'll steal a quote from Denzel Washington: "Each one, teach one," and it just resonates with me. And I'll tell you, I mean, there's no better feeling than working with a young person and having them get it and be able to assist them.
And tell our viewers and listeners where they can get more information about you and, of course, about Path 2.
Well, it's real simple: www.path2.net. Tells you about both of our programs and everything else. A slight little bio about me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I think I'm on Instagram. My awesome assistant Danny handles all that for me, but the majority of the time I'm, of course, on Facebook or LinkedIn. I can manage those.
Time to learn more about social media, I suspect.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add that we've not had a chance to talk about?
Well, don't open that door, Douglas. I can talk, as you probably garnered through this interview. You opened the door. No, I think I just love the opportunity, and thank you for allowing me to come on and share the story of Path 2 and myself a little bit. And we would love to offer your followers a 10% discount. What I'll do is I'll put together a discount code that's specific to your platform. And if anybody, ventures their way or has an interest in getting some help defining their best suited career, I'd be happy to assist them and give them a little bit of a discount. We're running a COVID discount already, but it'll be on top of that.
You've been watching the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. Thanks for watching.